If you're watching this, it is very likely that you are going through limerence, or maybe you're trying to figure out how to get out of limerence. Or maybe you just saw me from my last video on the research that I'd put together about limerence and how it's helpful for self-expansion. I also make these types of videos where I just talk candidly and openly about some of the reflections I have on the topics that I talk about and just day-to-day things. In this video, I wanted to talk about my, behind the curtains thought process on this whole limerence conversation. A lot of you guys responded to that last video with similar stories about the challenges, but also how it has helped you grow as a person. And the reason that I had been able to come to that particular theory or hypothesis was because that was something I had also gone through. At the same time, I started to think more about this whole trending word, this concept, this phenomenon on limerence, and I needed to be honest and say that maybe part of my difficulties with this particular phenomenon is the level to which it has grown to be more pathological, meaning that similar to the trends that people have seen with pop culture being obsessed with narcissists, that there is becoming less and less of a definition of limerence that we can capture and we can truly, I don't want to say like honor, but maintain accurately. And so, like I said, there's a lot of you all who could relate, and a lot of you guys who may be watching this because you really are suffering from limerence and you want to come out of that experience. But I want to pose this question to you guys. If you're watching this and that's you're trying to come out of this limerence experience, one thing that I would really question, because this is something I questioned myself about, was, are you really trying to move out of the experience, or are you trying to hold on to it? Are you trying to, in a way, intellectualize it? Right? We can only put so much of our experience into words and into some sort of context or meaning or scientific understanding before we just realize, like, it's kind of circular. So that's the first thing, is like, I know for me, I've had times in my life where I just go down rabbit holes trying to figure out what I'm going through and trying to put a name to it. But I didn't stop to think, is it because I'm trying to escape this feeling of limerence? Is it because I'm trying to escape this feeling of feeling sad, feeling angry, And when you kind of sit with that, it allows you to be with that emotion and allow you to actually process what it is that you need to process. Another tricky thing about it is that the most recent time that I started to experience limerence, and when I started seeing how trendy it was becoming, it was interesting because if we were to take that experience, or at least my experience, and we were to put it into a different period of time, like maybe when I was in my teenage years and the first time I've ever been in love, like that would have been appropriate or normal. But because in this context where I am, in a very different place in my life where limerence almost feels inappropriate or like unraveling, that only then it becomes pathologized. And so I want to kind of pose it to you guys that perhaps looking at limerence as or something outside of the realm of the innocence of falling in love is what kind of makes it even more challenging to see it for what it is. I had a client who I was talking to about limerence and their challenges with it, and I said something to them because it is, to me, how I see limerence. It's like you're taking a really normal human emotion of falling in love, and similar to grief. It's just love. It is pure love. It's transcendental. It is unconditional, only insofar as it is not attached to anything or any being. It's pure love. And then you take it and you put it in a box and you don't allow it to go anywhere. Maybe you've heard the saying before that grief is similar to that, where it's just love with no place to go. And I think of limerence like that. It's like love that you have that can't be placed onto the other person because of circumstance, and that love is still purely there and yours and being projected and transferred elsewhere. So I'm just saying that maybe it's important to also recognize that you just acknowledge its existence, because, and I will share this in my upcoming video, or Dorothy Tennov talked about limerence being involuntarily against our will. Like, it almost feels similar to grief, where it's like it doesn't just go away when you will it to. You can't just wish it away. Like, sometimes it ebbs and flows depending on, you know, what triggers that response, but it's sitting there like some sort of longing. And rather than like repressing it, denying it, going into your maladaptive daydreams, I think it's important to like do something creative with it. But if looking up a bunch of videos and Reddit posts about limerence is what's helping you right now, as opposed to, you know, the alternative of reaching out to them or rekindling something that you might think is happening, like, then that's fine. But I just really want to put out there that it might be important to just sit with your stuff, like just notice it for what it is and journal about it. I know I just rambled a lot, and I just needed to share my honest thoughts on this whole phenomenon. And if it helps you to hear how other people are experiencing it and learn about the research behind this phenomenon, then I'm really, really glad it helps. I continue to very much appreciate all the different stories that you guys have been willing to share, and I hope that when other people read your stories, that it can help them to realize that they're not alone. Because limerence, I mean, again, comparing it to grief, and there's different forms of grief, and I've said this in another previous video, is that limerence falls into the category of disenfranchised grief, similar to if somebody was grieving a pet, and maybe somebody doesn't realize how important pets are to them, like they see it like family. Or if somebody was grieving a person that they never dated, or grieving an affair partner, like those are disenfranchised griefs. It doesn't mean like take out the moral aspect of it, take out your own values of it. It's still grief, it's still a sense of loss, and I think it still deserves to be honored for yourself. And I just hope that this has helped you guys to look at the phenomenon differently. And I hope to see your guys' responses in my next video, when I talk about more of Dorothy Tennov's original research and her intent behind it. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.